Alright guys, so this is the video for section 5.1. So hopefully you know your properties of exponents by now and you did the worksheet and hopefully kind of solidified your knowledge. So what I want you to do is go through, pause this video, go through try 1, 2, and 3, and then I will put it up there and you can kind of check yourself. But I want you to try it on your own first. Hopefully these are ones that you can do at this point. Alright, so once you worked them all out, these are the answers you should have gotten. So I would go ahead and pause, and this is step by step by step, and just check your work. If you made a mistake, try to find where you made that mistake. But one thing I did want to point out is anything to the 0 power, remember that's just 1. So you don't even have to do much with that. Just know that all this here is just 1. All right, let's look at number 1 here. When we do this, notice if we have a fraction as an exponent, okay, we can break that up to where it's just 1 over a number and then squared. So we're going to do each of these kind of like we did here. Okay, then we're going to plug them into our calculator and get an answer. So this one here we could do is a to the 1/3, right? And then we're left with squared. And think about this. This should make sense because if you had it like this, you would multiply the 1/3 times 2, which is just 2/3. Okay, and we really don't even need a calculator for this because 8 to the 1/3, guys, you should know that as 2, right? Because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 squared. So this here we could do without a calculator, would just be 4. Okay, over on B, okay, this would be 6 to the 1/2 to the 5th, right? Which would be the square root of 6 to the 5th. And then if you put that into your calculator, you should get roughly 88.18. Okay. Now on C, let's look at this. This is, notice our negative exponent, so I'm going to write this as 1 over 20 to the positive 6/5. Okay. So I could write that as 1 over 20 to the 1/5 to the 6th. Or I can rewrite that further as 1 over the 5th root of 20 to the 6th. Okay, now the 5th root, anything other than square root, you go in your TI-84 calculator under the math button. Okay, and it looks like, I believe it has an X like this. Okay, so if you put 5 and then you hit this button, it'll change this to a 5th root of, and then you put under here. Okay, so if you do that, you should get roughly 0.03. If you're not, remember it's 1 over all of this. Okay, so check your parentheses and things like that. All right, let's look at D. D is the same way as C. So first thing we want to deal with this negative exponent. So just 1 over 15 to the positive 3/4, right? Okay, now this is 1 over 15 to the 1/4 to the 3rd, which is 1 over the 4th root of 15 cubed. And then when you put that into your calculator, guys, you should get roughly 0.13. If you don't know how to put it in your calculator or this doesn't make sense, please reach out and let me know and I can help you out with that. All right, so now here on example 2, we're kind of doing the opposite of what we did before. Okay, so we're going to take it like this, and this is just the square root, so think of this as a 2 if you want. Okay, so we're going to do it the same method we did here. So this would be 5 to the 1/2 to the 3rd, right, which is just 5 to the 3/2 power. Okay, and if you put that into your calculator, you should get roughly 11.18. Okay, I want you to go through, guys, these are kind of the same. I want you to go through and try to do F, G, H, and I by yourself. So pause this, try to do those by yourself, and then I'll come back with the correct answers completely worked out for you. All right, so hopefully you've gone through and done these. So go ahead and pause this again and check your work. Once again, please let me know if you can't figure out, like if you made a mistake and you can't figure out where you made a mistake, let me know and we can go over it together. All right, let's look at example 2 here, guys. Okay, so it says find the indicated real nth roots of a. So what it wants is the third root of negative 216. So we would write that as the third root of negative 216. Okay, now remember, if this is an even number, the answer we get will be an imaginary solution, okay? But with this an odd number, it's okay for this to be a negative, because think of like negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Well, negative times negative is positive, and then positive times negative is also a negative. So this is okay. And guys, I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head, but 6 to the third power is 216. Therefore, negative 6 to the third power is negative 216, and so therefore the answer to this would be negative 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it over here. So fourth root of 81. Okay, so 3 to the fourth power is 81, and also negative 3 to the fourth power is 81. So the answer to this would be plus or minus 3. Okay. Now last but not least, this is the second root of negative 49. Guys, this is also just the square root. We simply don't write it. We just keep the 2 off because it's assumed without a number. Since this is even, guys, this is imaginary, so this would be plus or minus 7i would be your solution to that one. All right, let's look at example 3 now. Okay, so we've done these before, but we just haven't used anything but squares. Okay, so hopefully this isn't too bad. So before we can work on the x to the 5th, because the x is the only thing that's to the 5th power, okay, we want to divide this 4 out. Okay, so 128 divided by 4 is 32 equals x to the 5th. Okay. Now, in order to get rid of an x to the 5th, we want to do the inverse, which is the 5th root of x to the 5th. So we do the 5th root of 32. And the 5th root of 32 is just 2. Because remember, this is odd, so the 5th root of negative 32 would be negative 2. But the 5th root of positive 32 would be x equals positive 2. All right, so let's look at b here. Now, b is different from a because in b, we have a parentheses with a 4 around it. Okay, so this x minus 3 is all to the 4th power. Okay, do not work this out. You'll be making your life miserable. Okay, what we want to do is just take the 4th power of everything. Okay, so the 4th power and to the power of 4, those go away. So we're left with x minus 3 equals, and this is an even power, so it would be plus or minus the 4th root of 21. Okay, and just to get x by itself, let's add 3 to both sides. So x would just be 3 plus or minus the 4th root of 21. There's our final answer. All right, so I want you to pause this video right now and go ahead and work through C and D on your own. Pay attention to if it's positive or if it's negative, and then we'll come back and you can check your answer against mine. All right, so hopefully you've worked through C and D on your own, and this is what you get. Okay, so on C you should have gotten x equals negative 3 and negative 7, and on D you should have gotten 2 plus cubed root of negative 14. Okay, if you didn't get something, pause this, kind of look over my work, check it against your work, and if you still don't know where you made the mistake, or if you don't understand why I did what I did, please let me know. All right, one last example. Let's look at example 4, and then we'll be done with 5.1. Okay, it says a hospital purchases an ultrasound machine for $50,000. Okay, the hospital expects the useful life of the machine to be 10 years, at which time its value will have depreciated to $8,000. The hospital uses the declining balances method for depreciation, so the annual depreciation rate, R, which is in decimal form, is given by the formula. Here's our formula. All right. In the formula, N is the useful life of the item in years. okay? So N is the useful life. Well, it says here the useful life to be 10 years, okay? So our N is 10. S is the salvage value. So at the end of that 10 years, what value is it? So S, the salvage value, is 8,000. And C then is the original cost. And it tells us right here we bought it for $50,000. All right, so now we just need to take these and put it in this formula. So our R is going to be 1 minus parentheses 8,000 over 50,000 to the 1 over 10. All right, so when you put this into your calculator, you should get a number that looks like 0.1674, okay? But remember, R, we're talking about a rate, okay? And generally speaking, when we're talking about rates and money, we're talking about a percentage. So I'm going to change this to roughly 16.74%. Here's our answer.